By the time they pulled his body from the lake, his lungs were filled with water, but his heart had stopped long before the drowning. She had tied an anchor to his ankle with the same hands that once cradled his face like he was her salvation. It was not rage that killed him. It was desperation dressed as love, obsession pretending to be forever. When love becomes a cage and fear replaces faith, destruction is inevitable. Betrayal may wound, but murder buries the soul. This is True Crimes Altar, where real-life sins are exposed under the weight of truth, obsession, and consequence. If you're drawn to haunting, emotionally driven true crime stories that explore the darkness behind closed doors, subscribe now, share this story, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Delilah March kept her garden like a sacred space. Every petal, every trimmed hedge, every wind chime was placed with intention, a delicate order to silence the noise inside her. At 65, she moved slowly, elegantly, like time couldn't quite touch her. Neighbors often said she looked lonely, but never unhappy. And perhaps, back then, she wasn't. She met Trayvon Hill one Sunday afternoon while browsing a farmer's market on the edge of town. He was 25, charming, with broad shoulders and an easy, cocky smile. He sold fresh juice and wore sleeveless shirts that made his biceps seem sculpted for attention. He called her ma'am at first, then Queen, then just D. That was the beginning. What started as casual conversation became regular visits. She'd stop by his stand, buy 2 bottles of juice, and leave with a smile she hadn't worn in years. He noticed her perfume. She noticed his cologne. He asked about her past. She avoided it. He said he was trying to start a personal training business. She said she used to own a boutique. He laughed at her jokes. She laughed like a girl again. In less than 3 months, they were inseparable. Her car became his. Her home became his after-hours gym. Her bed, once untouched, held the imprint of a young man who whispered dreams into her ear and made her believe time could be rewound. Neighbors whispered. Her friends warned. She ignored them all. He makes me feel alive, she told herself, as if that made it true. One evening, as they danced in her living room to a Sam Cooke record, he pulled her close and kissed her neck. "I could love you forever," he murmured. Her hands trembled. Forever. That word had always been dangerous. She began giving him more, paid off his car loan, bought him new equipment, gave him space in her basement to train clients. And when her account alert started blinking red, she didn't panic. She simply stopped checking. Because if love came with a cost, she was willing to pay it. But love that is bought eventually gets sold. One night, Trayvon fell asleep with his phone unlocked beside him. Delilah, restless, reached for it. There it was, "Can't wait to hold you again, baby," followed by a photo of a girl, young, soft eyes, a beauty untouched by time. Her name was Kendra. She looked like someone who never had to ask to be loved. Delilah stared at the screen. Her throat clenched. The room felt colder. She didn't cry. She just laid there, staring at the ceiling while Trey snored softly beside her. That night, the first seed of betrayal was planted, watered not by tears, but by silence. He chose the taste of temptation over the loyalty he once vowed, unaware that some hearts don't break. They harden and learn to sharpen silence into steel. The next morning, Delilah said nothing. She made his coffee, kissed his cheek, watched him walk out the door. Then she followed him. She drove 5 cars behind, sunglasses on, hands steady. She saw him meet her, Kendra, by the community park. He kissed her forehead. She giggled, tugged at his hoodie, pulled him close. Delilah didn't move. She just watched. That night, Trey came home late. Smelled like jasmine. Lied without blinking. Said he was helping a friend with a flat tire. Delilah nodded. "You're a good man," she whispered. He smiled, distracted, already texting someone beneath the table. In the days that followed, he became colder, busier, talked about moving out. "I need space," he said. Time to figure things out. Delilah's voice cracked when she asked, "Do you still love me?" He hesitated too long before answering. She offered him a weekend away, just the two of them. One last escape, she said softly. No phones, just us. He looked uncertain, but agreed. Said he'd go, if only for closure. Said he owed her that much. She smiled, kissed his hand, and began to plan. She booked a quiet lake house, far from town, told no one, packed 2 duffel bags, slipped an anchor from the garden shed into the trunk beneath blankets and wine, told herself it was nothing, just a precaution, just in case. When obsession dresses itself as love, it doesn't walk toward redemption, it drifts silently toward damnation. The morning they left, she wore pearls in her favorite linen blouse. He wore joggers and barely looked up from his phone. As they drove, he scrolled, grunted at memes, laughed to himself. She smiled, her eyes never leaving the road. The cabin was beautiful. Wood-paneled walls, sun pouring in through lace curtains, the scent of pine and still water. She made him dinner. They ate by candlelight. She poured his wine, touched his hand, asked about his dreams. He said he wanted to leave the state, maybe move to Atlanta, start fresh. She asked if that meant with her. He looked away. That night, they lay together, their bodies close but their hearts divided by truths unspoken. He turned away after, falling asleep quickly. She lay awake, watching the ceiling fan spin, spinning like her thoughts, her fury, her grief. She looked into the eyes of the man she once called home and saw only a stranger she had paid to stay, and the moment that truth took root, her love began to rot. In the morning, she suggested a canoe ride. One last time, she said. Just like when we first came out here. He yawned, agreed. The sun was gentle. The lake was still. Fog clung low, like it didn't want to witness what was coming. They paddled in silence. She asked him again, softly this time, if he still loved her. He looked at the water, then at her, and said, I care about you, but I need more. She nodded slowly, then reached beneath her seat and pulled the anchor from the shadows. The metal clanged softly against the wooden frame of the canoe. Trey turned his head, eyebrows pinched with confusion. What's that? Delilah didn't answer. Her hands were trembling, but her eyes were steady. For a second, he smiled, a confused, harmless smile, like he was trying to joke his way out of discomfort. Then he saw the anchor. Day, what are you doing? His voice cracked somewhere between disbelief and dread. She didn't respond. She lifted the anchor with both hands, the rope already tied in a crude knot. He moved too slowly. She brought it down hard. It struck the back of his shoulder, not his head. A loud thud that rocked the canoe sideways.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
He cried out, twisting in pain, grabbing for the edge. She hit him again. This time, it connected with the side of his head. His body slumped forward, hands splashing into the water. Delilah leaned over and pushed. With all the strength she had, she shoved him into the lake. His body hit the water with a hollow splash. The rope slipped through her hands like silk. She tied the end around the bench of the canoe, just as he surfaced, coughing, gasping, blood seeping from his forehead. He tried to speak. She couldn't hear the words. The rope tightened. And then, slowly, terribly, he began to sink. His eyes stayed on her until the very last moment. Not angry, not afraid, just confused. In that moment, love did not kill, pride did. A pride that could not bear to be unloved, unseen, or replaced. And from that pride, a woman drowned the very thing she once called her joy. The water rippled, then stilled. Delilah sat in the canoe, breathless. Her hands shook, her chest heaved, but her eyes didn't weep. She untied the rope from the bench and let it slip into the lake. Then she rowed back slowly, the paddle dipping into the fog as if nothing had happened. By the time she reached the dock, the sun had started its descent. The wind was gentle. Birds chirped. The world, for a moment, seemed untouched by violence. She stepped onto the dock, her dress soaked near the hem. She walked into the cabin, lit a fire, and poured herself a glass of wine. She slept deeply that night. And for the first time in weeks, she did not dream. Back in town, Kendra waited. Their road trip was supposed to begin that morning. She had packed snacks, curled her hair, wore the peach dress Trey once said made her look like something out of a movie. By evening, he hadn't called. By midnight, his phone went straight to voicemail. She texted, "Babe, everything okay?" No response. The next day, she drove by his apartment. Knocked. No answer. She called Delilah, the number Trey once told her never to use. It rang once, then disconnected. She went to the police. At first, they took it lightly. 25-year-old men disappear all the time, especially ones who've been juggling women and money. But Kendra wouldn't leave. "He wouldn't do this," she insisted. "He was trying to build something with me. He was leaving her." Detective Leon Briggs was called in by the third day. Early 50s, quiet but observant. His eyes were always scanning, even when he looked away. He asked simple questions, repeated them hours apart, watched how the answers changed. He met Delilah at her home. She answered the door in a floral robe, hair pinned, face tired but clean. "I haven't seen him," she said. "He needed time. I let him go." Briggs tilted his head. "When was the last time you spoke?" "4 days ago," she said. "He wanted space." "Did he take anything with him? Just his duffel bag?" Briggs nodded. But something felt off. Her house was spotless. Too spotless. There were no signs of grief, not even rehearsed ones. He noted her hands. No tremble. Her eyes. No puffiness. Her voice. Almost practiced. She buried him in silence, then tried to bury her guilt in routine. But guilt is louder than grief and far harder to wash off the skin. Briggs visited the lake cabin the next day. The caretaker confirmed the reservation under her name, said he saw the young man, fit, tall, brown-skinned, with her when they arrived, but not when she left. Briggs stood on the dock and stared into the water. The lake was wide, still, and deep. Something whispered beneath the surface. A dive team was brought in. On the 5th day, they pulled Trey's body from beneath the reeds, weighted down by an anchor and rope. He had bruising on his shoulder and skull, water in the lungs. Cause of death, drowning by force. Kendra was in the hallway when they brought the news. She screamed. Not like a woman in shock, but like a soul that had been torn out of her chest. She collapsed to her knees, gripping the floor like she might fall through it. Briggs didn't need a confession. He arrested Delilah that evening. She was trimming her roses, humming softly. When he stepped into her yard, she looked up and smiled faintly. "You found him?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am, we did." She dropped her shears, then placed her wrists together as if she were offering them. "He was going to leave me," she said. "People do that sometimes," Briggs replied. "I gave him everything," she whispered. And she gave him nothing but skin. She murdered not out of impulse, but entitlement, the belief that love, once purchased, must remain loyal. But love is not a contract, and no soul belongs to another. As they drove away, the wind picked up. Her roses swayed behind her, and the lake miles away reflected nothing but sky, as if it too wanted to forget. Delilah didn't cry at the station. She sat still in the interview room, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her eyes didn't wander. Her voice was soft, controlled. Detective Briggs sat across from her with a folder unopened. "You understand you're under arrest for the murder of Trey Van Hill?" She nodded once. "I understand. Do you want to tell me what happened?" "I already did," she replied. "He said he needed time. I let him go." Briggs opened the file slowly. Inside were photos, the bruises, the rope marks, the recovered anchor. He laid them out one by one. Delilah's eyes hovered over them, but didn't flinch. "I'm not a monster, detective," she said finally. "I loved him." Briggs leaned forward. "Then why is he dead at the bottom of a lake?" Silence. "He lied to me," she whispered. "He said he would stay. He promised." Briggs sat back, letting her words echo off the cold walls. When promises are taken as chains and affection is mistaken for ownership, love turns from sanctuary to sentence. Kendra was brought in for formal questioning next. Her eyes were hollow, her voice sharp. "I told him to be honest with her," she said. "I told him to leave before things got worse." "Did he seem afraid of her?" Briggs asked. "Not afraid. Just done. He felt smothered. Said she watched him sleep sometimes. Said she acted like she owned him." Briggs wrote everything down. Every word chipped away at the mask Delilah wore. The autopsy confirmed what he already suspected: blunt force trauma, followed by drowning. No accident. No ambiguity. Delilah had killed him with intent. Still, Briggs dug deeper. He spoke to Trey's closest friend, Jamal, a trainer who had warned Trey months ago. "She's not just older, bro," Jamal had said. "She's fragile. You break her heart, she might break something back." "I didn't think he listened to me," Jamal told Briggs now. "He said he was handling it." "Was he in love with Kendra?" Briggs asked. Jamal nodded. "Yeah. That girl made him smile different. He was trying to save for a ring." Briggs closed his notebook. Intent, motive, evidence, confession. The puzzle was complete. He was planning a future while she was planning a farewell, but where his held hope, hers held horror. News of the arrest spread quickly. A 65-year-old woman killing her 25-year-old boyfriend made headlines overnight. Talk shows debated the relationship. Comment sections exploded. Some blamed Trey for using her. Others called Delilah a murderer hiding behind heartbreak. At the first court appearance, Delilah walked in wearing gray prison-issued scrubs, her hair neatly tied back, lips bare. She didn't look at the crowd. She didn't look at Kendra. Kendra was there, though, sitting in the front row, trembling, eyes swollen, but burning with fire. When Delilah was asked how she pleaded, she spoke clearly, not guilty. Gasps rippled through the room. But no one was more stunned than Kendra. Afterward, Kendra told the media, "She didn't just kill Trey. She killed everything we were building. She killed the man I was supposed to spend my life with." In the courtroom of grief, justice begins long before the verdict. It begins the moment the truth no longer fits behind a lie. A few days later, Delilah's defense team filed a motion to argue emotional instability. They painted her as a woman manipulated by a younger man, abandoned after giving him everything. She was betrayed, the lawyer argued. Manipulated. She acted in a moment of panic and emotional collapse. But the prosecution wasn't moved. He wasn't a thief, the DA said. He was a young man with a right to choose who he loved. And she took that choice and his life away from him. The trial was set. Briggs visited the lake one last time before his testimony. The water was calm. The canoe had been impounded and stored as evidence. But in his mind, he saw it clearly. The moment her hand reached for the anchor, the quiet seconds before her choice became a sentence. Some crimes happen in seconds, but their echoes never fade. And some waters may look still, but beneath them sleep the sins we thought we buried. Back at the station, Briggs flipped through the file one last time. Trey's photo was on top. He looked young, proud, full of ideas. Briggs sighed. The same way a father does when the world proves too cruel for the hopeful. The courtroom was cold, clean, brutal in its stillness. Trey's family sat on the left, his mother gripping a tear-soaked handkerchief, his sister holding her head high, eyes locked on Delilah. Kendra was there too, wearing black, her face unreadable, her silence loud. Delilah was brought in through the side door, shackled, smaller now, her skin pale beneath the fluorescent lights. She didn't meet anyone's gaze. The prosecutor opened strong. This was not passion. This was not a lapse. This was a plan. A photograph of the anchor was passed to the jury. Then a close-up of the bruises around Trey's neck. Then the final image, his lifeless body pulled from the cold water. A collective breath left the room. The defense stood, gentle in tone. Delilah was a woman spiraling, left behind by a man she trusted. She snapped. She didn't plan murder. She planned to love someone who didn't love her back. But when love becomes possession and heartbreak becomes rage, what's left isn't grief. It's a crime disguised in sorrow's clothes. Kendra was called to the stand. She spoke with strength, voice shaking only when she mentioned the night before Trey disappeared. He told me he was going to end it with her. Kindly, gently. He said he couldn't keep living two lives. Did he seem afraid? She nodded. He said she'd never let him go. Trey's mother followed. Her voice broke often, but her eyes were steel. She killed my son because she couldn't stand not being the center of his world anymore. She wanted his youth, his energy, his future, and when he wouldn't give her that, she took everything. Delilah never looked up. Some wounds scream louder than vengeance. Some mothers bury more than sons. They bury weddings never had, grandchildren never born, laughter that never echoed. The forensic pathologist detailed the cause of death. Blood trauma. Then drowning. There were signs of consciousness when he hit the water, meaning he was alive, bound when she sent him under. The jury flinched. Then came Jamal, straight-backed, composed. Trey wanted out. He loved Delilah once, but he fell for Kendra. He was trying to leave the right way. But she didn't want right. She wanted permanent. The defense cross-examined. Is it possible your friend used Delilah? Jamal's answer was swift. If she felt used, she should have walked away, not killed him. A broken heart is never an excuse for bloodshed. Pain gives no permission for murder. Briggs testified last. He walked them through the timeline, the search, the discovery, the evidence. His voice was measured, never dramatic, but the weight of his words hung heavy. She said she let him go, but the rope said otherwise. Delilah's lawyer looked desperate now, leaning hard on mental state. She was abandoned, humiliated, alone. But even that argument crumbled when Delilah chose to testify. She stood slowly, took the oath, faced the court. "I didn't plan it," she said. "But when he said he was leaving, something snapped. I asked him if he loved her. He didn't lie." "Then what?" "I asked him to hold me. Just one last time. He wouldn't. Said it'd be wrong. And then—" She paused. "I picked up the anchor. I didn't even think. I just swung." Her voice shook now, but no tears came. "I thought he'd stop breathing quickly, but he fought. I panicked. I tied him down so he wouldn't float." Gasps. A woman in the gallery sobbed openly. Kendra covered her mouth. The judge ordered quiet. And then Delilah said, "I loved him. I didn't know how to let go. But love that refuses to let go becomes a grave," and she dug his with her own bare hands. When court recessed, no one stood with Delilah. No one waited to embrace her. Even her own niece didn't come. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Verdict: guilty. The judge asked if she had anything to say before sentencing. She looked up for the first time, straight at Kendra. "I hope you find peace," she said. "He loved you. I see that now." Kendra didn't respond. She just stared. Delilah was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice doesn't erase the pain, but it marks the moment where evil is named and love, broken, twisted love, is no longer allowed to speak louder than the truth. She was led away in cuffs. Outside, reporters crowded around Trey's family. His mother said only one thing: "My son didn't die because he lied. He died because someone older than him refused to let him live." Her mugshot showed no anger, no remorse, only a tired sadness, like someone who had finally accepted what they had become. Her cell was gray, small, a far cry from the lake house where she once poured wine into 2 glasses and called it love. In prison, she was quiet. She read books, attended chapel, spoke little. But one day, during a group therapy session, she said softly, "I thought love meant holding on. I didn't know sometimes love means letting go, even if it hurts." Her counselor asked if she forgave herself. She shook her head. "I don't think I should." Some people spend a lifetime trying to be seen, but the way we respond to rejection is the clearest reflection of who we are. Outside the prison walls, Kendra was healing, slowly, quietly. She moved out of River Pines, found work in another city. She didn't speak publicly about Trey's death again, except for one moment during a local youth event where she said, "If someone tells you they don't want to be with you anymore, let them go. Love never forces. Love never traps. And it never kills." Jamal visited Trey's grave every month. He left sneakers, the same kind Trey once said he'd buy when things got good. The tombstone read, "Trey Donovan Ellis, 1999 to 2024. Loved loud. Died young. Missed always." Delilah's niece, who once idolized her, quietly took over the family salon. The picture of Delilah with Trey that once sat on the front counter had long been removed. One day, a young stylist whispered to her, "You think she really loved him?" The niece replied, "Maybe she did, but love without boundaries becomes a weapon," and Aunt Dee pulled the trigger with her hands. This story is not about age. It's not even about heartbreak. It's about how we choose to handle the truth when it hurts and whether we will destroy others just to avoid being alone. If Delilah had reached out for help, to a counselor, a pastor, a friend, Trey might still be alive. If she had accepted his choice with dignity instead of rage, she might still have her freedom. But instead, she drowned the only man who ever made her feel young again, not because he stopped loving her, but because he wanted to move on. To anyone listening, when you find yourself drowning in rejection, don't drag someone else under. Step away. Cry if you must. But seek help. Talk to someone. Violence will never bring closure, it will only bring cages. And to our beloved audience of True Crimes Alter, what are your thoughts on this heartbreaking story? Do you think Delilah's sentence was just? Have you ever seen someone spiral when a relationship ended? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more emotionally intense, real-life stories told with clarity and care. Tell us where you're watching from, your city, your country. We'd love to know how far this altar of truth reaches. Until next time, remember, love heals, obsession harms. Walk away while there's still time. This is True Crimes Alter, where stories are told and justice is remembered.